What if Robert Baratheon and Cersei produced a true-born heir, Part 3? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. The people of Wintertown all rush out to watch as the royal procession of Robb Stark returns from war. Row after row of Northmen march by to their friends and families' cheers. Yet not even this sight is the center of attention. Today, the North is greeted to a sight they have not seen in thousands of years. A defeated monarch. At the center of the column, Bara Baratheon, the stag, rides by, tall and proud, but in chains, while the rest of the army is bathed in cheers. She is greeted with boos and hisses. In front of her, a herald marches ahead, announcing her. Behold the Stag Queen, true-born daughter to Cersei Lannister and Robert Baratheon, raised as a warrior and rose against the Lannisters during their usurpation, defeating the great lion host that burned our southern domain. And yet pride comes before the fall, for she did not recognize the efforts of King Robb, or their efforts to bring justice. Instead of peace, she demanded servitude from the North. Bara does not say anything, though her eyes narrow dangerously. She looks toward the king, who remains silent as well. If the Iron Throne will not help the North, then they shall find no friends here. Instead we raise up a new king, Aegon VI, the only son of Rhaegar who promised to recognize our new kingdom and free Sansa Stark. Yet in the war, our brave king fell in battle with the Stag Queen. But such a defeat did not go unavenged, as the king in the north has now captured her. With this, the crowd cheers once more, as Bara is led into the gates of Winterfell and disappears into the castle. Once away from public eye, the guards pull her off her horse, and Robb faces her properly. Chambers have been prepared for you as befitting your station.
How gracious of you.
You will also be given freedom of movement around the castle, if you swear that you will not try to escape.
I am in a cage either way. At least this is a cage I am aware of.
Robb motions for his guards to escort her to her cell. Rather than a cozy tower cell, she is instead taken to a dungeon. Yet, rather than protest, Bara quickly makes her way inside. But she isn't alone. Another person is waiting for her. Hello there, Bara.
Uncle Jaime.
Not father? Seeing her horrified face, Jaime begins to laugh. Calm down, niece. You're not mine. I was brought here after your recent war to make sure that I am not freed. Before she can protest, the guards push her inside and shut the doors behind her. In King's Landing, the capital, is a flurry of activity. Although the death of Aegon VI is welcome news to the court, Bara's capture sends them scrambling for solutions, short of acceding to Robb's demands, recognizing them as an independent kingdom. Alternative terms are sent out, offering Sansa in exchange for Bara, but these are rejected. Though Robb has left to return to Winterfell, the Blackfish has taken command of the Riverland's defenses. In the meantime, Lord Manderly commands a naval strike on Gulltown, landing Donald Flint and Galbert Glover to lead a relief force against the Eyrie to break the siege. As the naval forces of White Harbor and the Vale clash, a small ship commanded by Sir Davos sneaks onto the north with Melisandre. Soon enough, Stannis attacks from King's Landing, and the Lannisters strike out once again from the Westerlands, while Renly leads a host from the south. The Baratheon and Lannister troops are fueled with vengeance after hearing of their queen's capture. The Blackfish fights them across a dozen minor battles, trying to halt their advance at every turn. He's joined by Lords Blackwood, Bracken, Malicer, and Piper, as well as some remnants of the Golden Company and a few Vale Lords. But their forces begin to get pushed back. The news forces Robb to march south after gathering fresh levies to reinforce his great-uncle's forces. Back in her cell, Bara has nothing to pass the time save dealing with her Uncle Jaime.
Joffrey, Tommen, and Marcella. Are they truly yours?
What do you think, dear niece? Do they look anything like you?
No, and thank the gods for it. Joffrey was a monster, and the others, their names are stained, and the rumors never leave them. All because you and Mother thought it was clever to lie to the whole world.
You think I don't know that?
And yet you did nothing to protect them.
Protect them? do you think I was doing? Do you think I could have tended to them with every scraped knee or scolded Joffrey for every act of cruelty he did? Even your father would have noticed something was amiss. Unfortunately, not all of us can be great heroes like you.
Apparently not.
Don't act so high and mighty with me, girl. Your father was a drunk and a shit king.
True, but at least he had honor.
Are you sure you're not Ned Stark's spawn with what you say? Did honor stop Robb Stark from crowning himself king, or the veil from turning its back on you? What did you think would happen? That the people of Westeros would look at you and see the warrior queen they always wanted? But they didn't, did they? Bara's hands curl into fists. Ask any of them, and they'll tell you what they were doing was honorable. They would say they were obeying their liege lords, dig up some slight against you and your house, or that Lannister blood taints you. And who is to question them otherwise? Who decides what is honorable and what is not? The gods? If so, they have been silent. No, it is only men and what men perceive. For a moment there is silence between the two. Bara stares down to her boots in silence. A part of her wants to deny it, to defend her father, and to curse Jaime, but she cannot bring herself to do it. A bitter taste, isn't it? Finding out you weren't the hero of this story after all. They will not accept you, not unless you make them, or simply let them freeze when winter comes. It makes no difference to me.
You know, I once heard my father say that he was grateful to have your family by his side. He was drunk then, but he said he would never be able to sit the Iron Throne if it wasn't for you, doing what the heroes couldn't do.
Suddenly a sharp cry echoes down the stone chamber, followed by the clash of steel. Jaime lifts his head, alert. Before either of them can react, a shadow snuffs out the torches, its dark blade slicing through the bars as the figure looks at them. His features remain distorted, but Bara could have sworn that it looked like Stannis. The figure doesn't speak, instead beckoning her to follow. Bara hesitates only for a moment before stepping forward. Whatever's happening outside, it's her best chance. She turns back to Jaime, raising a brow.
Are you coming?
You can stomach a Lannister's presence on your dashing escape.
I traveled down the moon with Uncle Tyrion. I think I can do the same with you. Besides, I may need a monster by my side.
Before I do, tell me, my children, Marcella and Tommen, I know Joffrey's not amongst us now that you sit on the throne.
They're safe. Marcella serves me as a lady-in-waiting, and Tommen is free to play with his kittens.
Jaime studies her, searching her face for deception. Finally, after a long pause, he reaches for one of the guards' fallen swords and follows. The shadow creature leads them through the empty halls, slaying whatever guards get in their way, before leading them through a postern gate where it enters. Below it is a moat and a rowboat with two figures, Sir Davos and Melisandre. The two offer her a smile as Davos rows them to safety. The four ride out of Wintertown, leaving the Stark castle behind them. With Bara and Sir Jaime now in their custody, nothing is holding the Baratheons and Lannisters back from crushing this rebellion. Yet this plan all goes awry with the arrival of a storm. It rages across the narrow sea, turning the water into a torrent, throwing Davos's ship around as rain slams against his face. The old knight shouts at his men, trying to maintain order as he battles against the winds. Below deck, Bara clutches a wooden beam to keep herself from being thrown as the ship pitches violently. The candlelight flickers wildly, casting jagged shadows across the cabin. Jaime braces himself against the frame of the doorway. Tell me, Bara, was this part of the plan? Or has your Lord of Light decided we should all drown together?
You mock the Lord of Light, but I can hear his voice in the flames, whispering to me. This storm is his gift.
If this is a gift, he can bloody well take it back.
Sail north, he says. Sail to the edge of the world, where the darkness awaits.
North? Have you gone mad? We'll freeze to death before we make it to land.
Continue to the south and the storm will tear our ship apart. But sail north to the wall, and the ship shall carry us safely to shore. It will deliver you where you are needed most. The wall. That is where destiny calls you.
Bara watches her carefully, the words settling like cold steel in her stomach. She turns back to Jamie, who shakes his head. You can't be serious. Yet, Bara orders Davos to change course, turning the ship around. To their surprise, it is just as Melisandre predicted. Though the ship rocks and shudders amidst the storm, not a single soul is lost, and by morning, the waters are as clear as ever. The wall looms in the distance along the east watch by the sea, where the black-cloaked figures emerge from the docks. By the time Bara and her party disembark, the Night's Watch meet her. They recognize Bara and Jamie immediately, and promise to not report this to King Robb. But only if Bara brings word south. There is trouble on the wall. Dead things have begun emerging from the mountain. Melisandre steps forward, her eyes gleaming. While Jamie and Davos are incredulous, Bara listens.
There is more than disorder here. There is a great darkness coming. If left unchecked, it shall consume the north.
Bara looks down at her hands, recalling what Jamie told her. Force the north to follow you, or let winter come. For the first time in her life, Bara has no army, no crown, no war to fight. The people of the north had rejected her before. She clenches her fists.
I will win them over.
She orders Davos to sail south and tell her uncles what is happening, to tell them that she lives but needs them to gather a force to come north. She also says that she is willing to make peace with Robb, but only if he returns north. Meanwhile, Melisandre will accompany them, as does Sir Jamie, who will act as her sworn sword. Before they leave, though, Davos retrieves something from his ship, a wrapped bundle that contains Bara's warhammer. Taking it in her hands, she tearfully embraces her companions.
Sir Davos, I have no idea what will come here or whether I am right. So please tell my uncles one more thing.
Yes, Your Grace.
Tell them I love them.
The winds howl through the frozen expanse of the far north as their small group rides long and hard through the wall. Bara, Jamie, Melisandre, and a handful of rangers rush westward to the hardest-hit area, where the Whites are appearing, the Bridge of Skulls. Across the Great Chasm are dozens of those creatures. They find rangers and wildlings organizing defenses, setting up earthworks and barricades to stop their advance. On the slopes, archers and crossbowmen try to hold them back. Bara moves with her hammer in hand. The battle is quick and brutal. Bara's hammer shatters bone and brittle flesh, while Jamie wields his stolen sword with lethal precision, hacking them to pieces as the Night's Watch warns, leaving nothing to chance. The leader of this force, Jon Snow, approaches them. Of all the people I expected to see at the edge of the world, you were not one of them.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, Lord Commander. What is the situation? Has the wall been breached?
No, not yet. But the dead come through the Bridge of Skulls, dozens every day. At first we thought it was just scattered remnants of Mance Rayder's army. But then, they didn't stop. We killed them, but they keep coming. More and more every day.
I thought the wall was supposed to protect us from them. The old stories say it was built with magic.
So did I. Old Nan always said the wall would hold so long as the Night's Watch stayed true. But after Craster's Keep, the mutiny, the betrayals, the corruption, maybe we're not true anymore. The weight of his words linger. The wall was supposed to be the last line of defense, but now cracks are forming. Not in the ice, but in the men who guard it.
There will be enough time to worry about that later. Right now we must hold off. I've sent word to Sir Davos to bring reinforcements.
I've done the same with my brother. I suppose we just need to hold out until then. Jon Snow explains the best weapons to fight them are fire and dragonglass, but they do not have much of the former. Bara sends ravens out to request both from Tyrion. In the meantime, Melisandre reaches for one of the Ranger's swords and kisses it. Suddenly, fire begins to emerge from his blade. She does the same with the others, and soon the men are cheering. For the moment, their spirits lift as Melisandre wipes her bleeding lips. For the next few days, the Whites ramp up their attacks. From dozens, they grow into hundreds, but they are met with the fury of the Night's Watch. Melisandre's magic and the Queen's presence ignites a fire in these men that wasn't there before. It was as if the Night's Watch of old came back with a vengeance as they fought through wave after wave of the undead. At their head is the Kingslayer, who moves through the Whites like a whirlwind, cutting them down as fast as they come. Day after day, reports are sent to Castle Black and Eastwatch with one sentence: the Bridge of Skulls stands. Soon enough, reinforcements start to trickle in. As Jon's words are heard, Northmen begin to arrive. Men from the mountains and Molestown, from Last Hearth and Bear Island. These are old men, cripples, and grizzled lords who were left behind during the war. They are surprised to see Bara there, and more than a few wish to arrest her, but Jon reminds them that she is under the Night's Watch protection, and if they are there to help, they must focus on the foes in front of them. It isn't just the North who are sending reinforcements. Smugglers and pirates under the employment of Stannis also send help. Dragonglass and Wildfire to arm the Night's Watch. Many reluctantly agree, turning their swords to the bridge as the nights grow colder and the days grow more violent. Rather than slow down, the attacks only seem to increase in intensity. From hundreds, the Whites now grow into thousands, as the magic is fading too vast. Every night, Melisandre prays to the Lord of Light, looking into the flames for any signs, but each time she sees the same thing: the Shadow Tower going up in flames. On the 10th day, the Whites attack in force, smashing into them in a massive assault that leaves their position on the Bridge of Skulls untenable. This time, the attacks are led by several White Walkers, who slaughter most of the defenders. One of them nearly kills Bara as it drives its sword into her side, but she's saved by Jon Snow, who beheads it with a Longclaw. He calls for a retreat as they pour back into the Shadow Tower, leaving the White Walkers to gain a foothold south of the wall. The night is thick with frost, the air so cold that each breath burns in their lungs. The Shadow Tower trembles under the relentless assault. Bara stands at the barricade, her grip tightening around her warhammer. The men beside her, brothers of the Night Watch and Northmen, fight desperately against the endless tide of the dead. Arrows fly, steel rings against ice, but the enemy does not fall like living men. Whites swarm the defenders, clawing, biting, overwhelming them in sheer numbers. For every one they cut down, 5 more take their place. But for every one of the living that falls, the dead raise their numbers.
The magic has gone too far. The wall is failing.
Then we have to go. We have to get everyone out. Bara glances at the Shadow Tower, its walls cracking, its defenses crumbling. A thought strikes her. Desperate, reckless, but their only option.
If we can't hold it, we can make sure they don't keep it either. Melisandre's fire might be failing, but we still have Uncle Tyrion's gifts. The Wildfire.
The plan is set in motion within moments. Jon leads the effort, guiding men through the tunnels beneath the tower, where the barrels are kept. Melisandre helps while Jaime and Bara protect them. They place Wildfire in the supports, right at the very foundation, but also within the castle itself. The green liquid glows ominously in the dark, pulsing like a living thing. Their remaining forces stream out of the castle towards the road. The last of them is Jon, Bara, and Jaime, who ride out, leaving Melisandre alone there.
A gift to the Lord of Light.
A single spark ignites the Wildfire. The explosion rips through the night, a column of green fire swallowing the tower whole. The heat is blinding, the roar deafening. The Whites caught inside are incinerated instantly, their bodies reduced to nothing but ash, but the debris falls on them like a rain of 1,000 flames, adding to the chaos. For a moment, it seems like they've stemmed the tide, and then, from the ruined gates, the White Walkers emerge. Not just from the Bridge of Skulls, but from the gates of the wall. The ground quakes as the army of the dead pours forth, thousands of Whites following in their wake. The Shadow Tower is gone, but the enemy is not.
Fall back! Retreat to the Queen's Crown!
They flee into the frozen night, their numbers dwindling with every mile. Wounded men collapse, too exhausted or too cold to continue. By the time they reach Queen's Crown, they are barely a fighting force. Castle Black emptied its garrisons to help them, but they soon find themselves under siege. And then, the horn sounds. Once. Twice. A third time. At first, they think it is another trick, another cruel reminder that the wall no longer holds. But then, banners appear through the trees. The dire wolf of House Stark, the flayed man of the Boltons, the mailed fist of Glover, the Manderly Merman, the trout of House Tully, the Frey's Twin Towers, and the eagle of Mallister. 10,000 men march toward the battlefield, led by Robb Stark himself. The battle is short but decisive. The Northmen charge, cutting through the Whites with fire and steel, pushing them back just long enough to secure a retreat. When the fighting is done, Robb stands before the battered survivors of the Shadow Tower, his eyes locking onto Barra's.
I suppose I should thank you.
Suppose you should.
The battle rages on, the night air thick with the clash of steel and the roars of men fighting against the endless tide of the dead. Whites climb over one another, their sheer numbers making it impossible to hold a solid line. Their eyes burn with cold fire. Their limbs are unnatural and unyielding even when cleaved apart. The Northmen and the remnants of the Night's Watch fight desperately, but their numbers dwindle with each passing moment. Barra swings her warhammer with all her strength, shattering bones and caving in skulls. Through the chaos, Robb Stark fights his way to her side, slashing through a White and kicking its corpse away before turning to her. In his hand is a blade she knows too well, Blackfire. In the few moments of peace, the two monarchs find time to discuss what happened.
Your hand agreed to a ceasefire. The war is over, at least for now. You had something to do with that.
He wouldn't have stopped it if I was still in chains. He would have fought you for the last man to get me back. I sent him a raven telling him I was safe.
Safe? A bit of an exaggeration. But you were here. Why? Why not leave the North to its fate?
How could I claim to be queen if I had damned in by people?
Thank you for staying.
The horn sounds again, this time from the south. A wave of fire erupts across the battlefield as reinforcements arrive. Not from one, but 3 armies. Tyrion Lannister directing Lannister and Westerland soldiers, their siege weapons hurling wildfire into the undead horde. Great plumes of fire spread across the undead ranks, buying them time to escape and regroup. The fire spreads as the dead collide with each other, turning the battlefield from icy cold to burning hot in an instant. Through this, Stannis Baratheon leads his disciplined Crownland and Stormland troopers into the fray, his voice carrying over the chaos as he orders a steady advance. They form an unbreakable wall, spears thrusting out, and pots of wildfire being hurled overhead. And finally, Renly Baratheon, dazzling in his green and gold armor, leads the Knights of the Reach and Dornishmen in a bold cavalry charge, slamming into the undead ranks and then retreating before they are overwhelmed. Flames engulf the battlefield, Whites screaming as they burn. But the Night King does not falter. He remains at the center of it all, his ice-cold gaze locked on the defenders. He raises his hand, and more Whites rise from the fallen, undoing much of the work the living have done. He stands atop a small rise, wreathed in ice and death, watching. Robb and Jon see it too, and the trio mount up and ride hard, leaving Jaime to command their forces. Melisandre follows close behind. She watches as the dead begin to swarm them, White Walkers and undead beasts rushing from all directions. The Red Woman utters a prayer to her god and then leaps off her horse. At once the dead are upon her, tearing at her body, but she feels no pain and begins to sing. A ruby flickering before the flames explode, engulfing the Whites, turning her into a great funeral pyre, clearing a path for them. Jon slashes at the Night King's blade in an explosion of frost. He rains down attacks, but the Night King parries each strike. Barra arrives next, swinging her warhammer in a brutal arc at his ribs. The Night King effortlessly dodges, and with a flick of his wrist, he sends a wall of frost crashing into her, the cold seeping through her armor. Rob attacks next, driving his blade toward the Night King's chest, but the ancient being catches the blade mid-strike, letting out a shaking wail from their blades. With terrifying speed, the Night King grabs Rob by the throat, lifting him off the ground as ice spreads from his fingertips. Rob struggles, his skin turning pale as frost creeps around his neck. John roars in fury, charging again, swinging Longclaw. The Night King turns just in time, releasing Rob and pulling back.
How can we beat him?
The focus you pretend it's me you're hitting.
She rams into the Night King with her shoulder, but gasps as she instantly feels the cold rushing through her. Though it sends the ancient being stumbling back, she swings the hammer with all her strength. It slams into the Night King's ribs, sending a web of cracks through his frozen armor. He stumbles, just slightly, his first misstep. But his sword thrusts out, ripping into Bera's side and leaving her screaming in pain as that area goes numb. He begins to twist the blade, but John suddenly slashes Longclaw across his blade, having it explode in a shower of sparks and icy crystals. Fighting through the pain, Bara takes this chance and drives her hammer forward, stabbing the dragonglass spikes through his chest.
How does it feel to die?
The Night King's eyes go wide as Rob swings black fire and decapitates him. For the first time, the Night King staggers. The moment he falls, the dead collapse. Thousands of wights drop lifelessly to the ground, no longer bound by the magic that animates them. The White Walkers crumble into ice and dust, their ancient will erased in an instant. Jon Snow staggers, his breath ragged. Rob drops to his knees, exhausted beyond words. Bara lets the warhammer slip from her fingers, her breath visible in the freezing air. The war is over. The living have won. After that, all sides agree that neither one is in any shape to fight a war, so instead, a peace deal is forged. To unify the realm, a marriage pact is agreed upon with Robb Stark and Bara Baratheon, uniting the two fractured kingdoms. That's our theory. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.